This video was sponsored by Skillshare. Be one of the first 100 people to click the link below and get 2 months free access to more than 22,000 classes. As you may know, Martina has recently gotten into bookbinding, and when she's making more and more books, she really does need another book press. Because having just one book press really limits the amount of books that you can make at the same time. We found this beauty on the Norwegian version of Craigslist, finn.no, and it has definitely seen better days. Luckily, everything seems to be intact and more or less in good shape, except for the thick layer of dust and rust. Naturally, our starting point of this restoration is the disassembly of the piece itself. Some of the nuts had really rusted in place, so I made some penetrating oil by diluting oil with mineral spirits. The mineral spirit makes the oil less viscous and lets it seep between the threads of the screw. This really did work like a charm for most of the nuts. The handle that was attached to the threaded rod really didn't want to come apart from the rod. I had to get it off to properly disassemble everything, so I decided to let it be until a later stage in the process. The next obstacle was getting off the nuts from underneath the base of the press, and these wouldn't come off, no matter the amount of oil and strength I put into it. I removed as much rust as I could with a steel brush, and then I tried to heat the nut with a kitchen torch. Now we have to create the electrolysis setup. The basic design is 4 cathodes, I use rebar for this, at each corner. They are attached to each other, but does not touch the central anode, which will be the greasy, rusty book press parts. It's nice to not let the parts touch the bottom, so that as much surface as possible has a direct path to the rebar cathodes. I also used some steel wire to hang the rusty nuts. After filling the tub with water, I added sodium carbonate to get the rust removal process going. But when I added it to the water, it didn't seem to dissolve. Little reaction was happening and almost no current drawn from my battery car charger. To get it to dissolve, I boiled some water and added it to the boiling water instead. This time it dissolved into a solution, even though it seemed to be saturated as everything didn't dissolve. I wasted some of the sodium carbonate here, but it wasn't too expensive and now I have learned. After letting all parts going through the electrolysis, I brought them back in to brush off all the remnants with a steel brush. I started out with the handle and the threaded rod part, in hopes of getting them to separate. Turns out it only needed some extra heat and then I could hammer it off. I put it back into electrolysis to further remove rust from the newly exposed hole and threads. And now it's just a matter of brushing, grinding and polishing. While I'm polishing and grinding on the metal, let me talk a little bit about today's sponsor, Skillshare. When we started making videos, we really tried to find good sources for how to edit, how to work cameras, etc. If we knew about Skillshare at that point, we would have definitely used it to climb that steep learning curve faster. Skillshare has over 22,000 classes in videography, editing, even photography and productivity. Even after we opened our YouTube channel, I've used Skillshare to learn more about basic videography principles, as I had no prior knowledge or competence. If you have a passion that you've always wanted to learn more about, I would suggest trying out Skillshare. Premium memberships begins around $10 a month, but the first 100 people to sign up with our link will get 2 free months of Skillshare. Typically these 100 spots go quite fast, so be sure to check it out. This project was a real challenge. I had to spend a lot of time doing it and I had to learn a couple of new skills. But all in all, it was great fun and I'm really pleased with the end result. If you want to stay updated on us, then please follow us on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.